All right, and we're going live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, Panther fans. Welcome to another very special edition of the Four-Man Rush. I'm your man, Kevin Avery, aka 4MR _ Country Kev, coming to you tonight with a very special friend of ours, definitely a big fan of the Four-Man Rush, and we're definitely a big fan of his. Former Carolina Panther Pro Bowl guard Mike Wahle has decided to join us here to help give a playoff recap of the Super Wild Card weekend that we just experienced, and also looking forward to the upcoming matches of this upcoming weekend's divisional round here as well. Again, Mike's no stranger to the show, but as always, we'd like to give him an opportunity to let us know what's currently going on with him, let us know what's going on with Process to Perform, and then we'll jump right in. So, Mike, let us know what's going on with you.
Yeah, just you can follow me, MikeWall68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Process to Perform. Been doing a ton of videos, pre and post game recaps, previews, everything's about film breakdown, do a ton of film analysis, different matchups. Been pretty exciting. Just enjoying these playoffs, man, just like everybody else. Got some stuff coming up this offseason with some coaching education clinics, working with some new players this year, some new pro guys I'm really excited about. But right now, let's just enjoy these playoffs, talk about them a little bit.
All right, most definitely. And, you know, with the Wild Card Weekend, Super Wild Card Weekend, it was both a Saturday, Sunday, and for the first time ever, Mike, a Monday night game. They said it was done to do it in honor of the remembrance of the late great Dr. Martin Luther King. So I thought that was pretty noble. Start off with the recap real quick. One of my favorite anticipation matchups of this past Super Bowl weekend was the matchup between the divisional rivals between the Seahawks and the 49ers. Obviously, you know, as me as a Panther fan, kind of feeling empathetic towards Christian McCaffrey and, you know, his pursuit to get a ring. So if you want to say a default 49er sympathist, you know, however you want to call it. But they pretty much had a very dominating performance, particularly in the second half against Seattle. Halftime score, it was actually down 17-16, right. But they ended up winning the final score of 41-23. You know me, Trent Williams, number one left tackle in the game, point blank period. The 49ers offensive line, definitely one of my favorites. You know, with Mike Shanahan, they did a thing on NFL football where they did a breakdown of the different variations, how to use 21 personnel to attack Seattle this past weekend. Mm-hmm. What was your look as far as the offensive game plan, particularly with the when the 49ers had the ball?
Yeah. Well, Christian McCaffrey obviously all those guys had a great day, but when I watch the San Francisco 49ers, and they have easily become my favorite team to watch from an offensive standpoint, what Kyle Shanahan's doing over there, utilizing weapons. I'll be honest with you, Trent Williams is special. There's no question about it. The rest of their O-line is just average. The rest of their O-line is average. They're not bad. Like McGlinchey's good. You know, he's a first-round pick, Notre Dame kid. Jake Brendel's kid at UCLA, the center. I know him. I like him. He's a strong player. But they're not, you know, when I look at other teams' offensive lines, like the Green Bay Packers, for example, look at Carolina Panthers. Like, I'm not, except for Trent Williams, I don't know if I'm trading anybody. I'm not trading Tyler Moton for McGlinchey. You know, it's just not happening. Right. What they do, and this is, it literally blows my mind because it's just old school football packaged in a new way. They've got George Kittle. In my opinion, George Kittle is best all-around tight end in football, and they got Kyle Juszczyk. Best, you know, you could argue that the kid over in Baltimore is better because he's 300 pounds, but Juszczyk can literally do it all. So they got these 5-tool Swiss Army knives that can play any position, block like linemen, and go, and they affect the game in a manner that you just don't find anywhere else in the National Football League. They had 3 touches in the game. They combined for 3 catches. Let's see, 3 catches for 43 yards total. Okay. But what they do with pre-snap motion, what they do with the speed and the tempo which they move pre-snap, they mess up the linebackers. They mess up the looks. And then they start lining up guys, Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Ayuk, and crack looks and just start messing with everybody's head. They create lanes like you just don't see in the National Football League. And it really is because, I mean, listen, they have a good offensive line, they have a good system, but it's Debo, it's C-Mac, it's Ayuk, and then more importantly, it's those two guys, Juszczyk and Kittle, man. They are unbelievable in the way that 49ers utilize those two players to just screw up schemes. Linebackers have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, none whatsoever. And in particularly, the favorite play that I liked was the one they had broke down when McCaffrey broke loose for like the 60-yard run.
Yeah.
Where they basically lined up in 21 personnel. I believe they had Ayuk and Kittle like in a like slotted right, and they had Debo Samuel and Juszczyk slotted left. Had McCaffrey, shotgun off to the right of the quarterback, and it just just watching them execute, because it looked like it was a 3-man front that the interior line had to block, and they was able to get out. What I liked was how they got off to the second level and was getting the linebackers and the safeties to really make that run and play work. When they put Kittle in motion, I mean, and like you said, man, you get those type of guys on the edge. These 180-pound DBs, they're not looking for that type of smoke, Mike.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, right? So Juszczyk lines up, and let's just call it a crack split, okay? Because he's wide enough that the defensive end has to make a decision. Am I going to be inside of him and get cracked, or am I going to stay outside? He decides to go outside, but now Juszczyk, as George Kittle is sprinting across pre-snap. First of all, the speed of their pre-snap movement is a huge differentiator between everybody else, okay? So he sprinted across. So the linebacker's eyes all of a sudden go to his left. They snap the ball, and Juszczyk is inside releasing and just hitting him right under the chin. The defensive end, who was wide on Juszczyk, is now looking at 330 pounds of Trent Williams running at him, and he's got an inside bumper with George Kittle, who just has safety responsibility. They take Ayuk, they send him up to corner responsibility. They take Ayuk, he's got the safety. I mean, you and I could run through the lane together holding hands. It's that big a lane, but it's part of its scheme. But part of it is they have an incredible respect for what Juszczyk and Kittle can do from a physical standpoint. You just don't see, again, when they said Kittle or Juszczyk across in the cross action, the split flow looks, those guys aren't cutting all the time. They'll butt them right up face mask to face mask. It's a different kind of physicality. It's a different kind of speed, and it affects those linebackers and those defensive ends. They just don't know how to deal with it. Like the pendulum swinging back, right? We used to go, no fullbacks, all the tight ends are all slot receivers, and now they got two guys that can do it all, and they're physical and they're fast. And defenses just they haven't been coached to play against those kind of players anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just like I said, it was a combination of and it's not just the scheme of it as well, Mike. One thing we hadn't mentioned, but it's obvious, it's the physicality that those type of plays are executed with, man. It's like you said, it's old school smash my football, like you said, with a new jack swing, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it too, man. It's the best thing going right now, and it's funny. Like you start thinking about you start thinking about like the Shanahan tree, and then you look at it like nobody is running like that guy wants to, like he's running his offense, and it's because they literally don't have personnel. Obviously, everybody's going to talk about Christian McCaffrey and Debo, and they should. But the other part of that is they don't have guys that can do what Kittle and Juszczyk can do. And they get so much dirty work done. Again, dude, think about it. They touched the ball 3 times the entire game. And I could literally spend 2 hours talking about everything they did. I mean, when you start breaking down and watching, it's amazing to see the effect they have on the second and third level defenders on the Seahawks team.
Right, and if we flip it over to the other side of the ball in that game, once again, is it safe to say that the 49ers had the most effective D-line rotation in the league? Because, I mean, my God, Nick Bosa, former first-round pick, come back now healthy, Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead.
Armstead's so good.
I think a guy that came, I think he's from out your way, Texas, Charles Omenihu.
Manu, yep. He had a
Yeah.
big game. He had a big game. Those guys, listen, everything that the 49ers do, it's just hard not to like them, right? Because they just play, they're just more physical than everybody else. They just have that dog in them, man. And they've got really good athletes. It's just fun to see what really talented guys are being well coached. I know their defensive line coach. He was in Miami. The guy's one of the best D-line coaches in the league, and you can just see it. It's not just the schemes they run. It's not the way they rub on their TEs and ET games. Just the intensity that they bring, play in and play out. It's contagious. It's infectious for the rest of the team. Their defensive backs play with intensity. Their linebackers at Greenlaw is incredible, even though Fred Warner gets all the attention which he deserves. Greenlaw's an absolute stud. From top to bottom, I mean, those guys they're number one in the league for a reason, right? They have talent, but they just play incredibly hard. And when you get in a situation where you become not quite one-dimensional, but pretty close to one-dimensional in the second half of that game, and those guys can pin their ears back, those rookie tackles had a tough time with the snap count and being able to keep up with the leverage pressure that guys like Nick Bosa can put on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that you can run forward. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like on the back end, defense coordinator D'Amico Ryans looked like he used a lot of different zone concepts with some man mixed in. I mean, when you can only just send 4 and just be disruptive and drop 7 as a defender, it just makes life, so much easier.
Yeah. But they also, I mean, they can do that, and then every once in a while they can bring Hufanga, they can bring Fred Warner, they can Greenlaw, and so they can bring a dog or a blitz every once in a while to mess you up. But where they make a lot of money is their linebackers, like Greenlaw in particular. When he hits a hole, he's hitting it at the snap. As soon as the ball's gone, as soon as the center snaps that ball, man, he's hitting that hole. And they might be rocking the front side defensive tackle, and he's on the backside, and he's the one crossing the guard's face. Like they're really messing with your rules, and they do it in a manner that, because it's so fast and it's so violent, that you're as an offensive lineman, you're trying to do like a 3-man pass off, and all of a sudden Greenlaw comes across your face, gets in the running back's way, and it's like, what do we do? They're playing. They're my favorites to play in the Super Bowl. I know that the Eagles are amazing, and I'm probably silly for saying it, but when I watch, they're the one team that I can't stop watching.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's hard to play a team 3 times in a season and win, but it was something that they were able to do against Seattle. If I'm not mistaken, that's now 10 games in a row now for the 49ers. I mean, if anyone has momentum heading into the playoffs, is definitely them. And of all things, with their 3rd string quarterback.
Well, that kid's playing really well too, and it's not just the scheme and the system, and he's got great people around him, but he's making a lot of good decisions. He makes a lot of, he's obviously he's picked up the offense very quickly. A lot of the pre-snap stuff, he's doing well. It just makes sense for him. When he gets into a little bit of trouble is when he tries to ad-lib, but he has the arm. He's making the throws. He doesn't have a cannon, but he's competent. He's able to move around the pocket. He's got great poise, but he just seems advanced for his years. Given that he's the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, third string quarterback. They're going to have a hell of a decision to make here in the next couple of months.
Oh yeah, definitely. And shout out to the 49ers quarterback coach, Brian Greasy, for, just getting this kid ready to play, man. I mean, it's just remarkable. Any other time, a large majority of other teams, their 3rd string come in, that's pretty much
the playbook just goes like this usually, right? It's just, there's where'd the playbook go? It's like you got 4 plays or something.
Right.
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
All right. Now, the other game that Saturday night probably was the biggest shock, because like most of us, when we saw the score was 27-0, Chargers got this game. And lo and behold, one of the biggest comebacks in NFL history took place down in Duval County in Jacksonville, Florida, where the Los Angeles Chargers played the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were AFC South Division champs. And, you couldn't have played an uglier first half as a quarterback than what Trevor Lawrence played for the Jaguars. I mean, 4 interceptions. Mike, you played a lot of ball, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of rough quarterback plays. Let me ask you something. As a player, whenever you see a quarterback having that rough of a start, like what are the other teammates thinking? Are you trying to encourage? Are you thinking like, Coach, we might need to go with somebody else? Like, what would be the vibes when you see a quarterback had a type of half that Trevor Lawrence have as a teammate? How do y'all try to get through when you're going through the storm like that?
It's if it's your starting guy, like Trevor Lawrence is going to be he's their franchise, right? He's their guy, and he's been playing at a really high level.
Right.
When that happens, you just kind of, you live by the sword, die by the sword. I think a little bit. You just you're not accepting anything, but certainly I remember we went to St. Louis one year, and I think Brett had 5 picks and 3 returned for touchdowns. And it wasn't like we weren't like Dougie P was in the game. He was our backup. We were putting Dougie P in. Like Brett was playing, right? If we were playing, Brett was playing. It's a playoff game. We're still gonna try to win. I remember Brett said something like, "I don't care. I'll throw 7 picks. I'm gonna keep slinging it." So you just you go out there and just try to do the best job you can. Usually what happens in that situation, if it's more spread out, then the playbook condenses. With these guys, it was interesting. Trevor Lawrence, he just plays awful early. And then there was a play, I think the end of the second half, they scored a touchdown and they were running cover. It was the Chargers were running cover 4 and we had trips right, and they were trapping the inside receiver on the trips look. And they ran basically ran a cross, and then they ran the corner. And so they waited. It was like a 4-10 look where you're trapping the first guy, inside receiver, and they just took the middle slot of the trips and ran him to the far corner. Trevor Lawrence hooked up, big play, touchdown. And then you just kind of saw they found something. Maybe you've got a spark. Maybe it was that momentum. You just never know if you're a struggling quarterback, if you're a struggling team. You just never know what that spark is that's going to light you up and kind of propel you forward. I don't know that Jacksonville, if that was it, it certainly seemed like it. But one thing I got to tip my hat to the way Doug Peterson not only handled the sideline with everything that was going on, but also handled that game plan. Now, he really outcoached the Chargers staff in the second half. He called a really good game. And you see kind of the difference in experience as a Super Bowl winning coach and what he can bring to the table in the second half, and a quarterback mentor that the kind of guy that Doug is. And Brandon Staley, who had just fired his offensive coordinator, fired his quarterbacks coach after that meltdown. It's like, there's some really, really good coaches out there, and Doug's one of them. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just watching how the game unfolded in the second half, like you said, I believe getting that touchdown right before for halftime, I think that was the spark that they needed, because in the second half they came out like a totally different team, outscored the Chargers 24-3 in the second half. Trevor Lawrence went from throwing 4 interceptions to throwing 4 touchdowns. Travis Etienne, who I like, had a good all-around game. He had 20 carries for a $109 rushing, caught a few passes as well. Hey, it's just another example of a game is truly not over until it's over. Because honestly, I started flipping channels after halftime, like, they got this. So
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It goes to show you though that some momentum is a real thing, right? In all sports, and you just see in a game like that, it's like the analogy of, you start a small snowflake starts rolling down a hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. By the time it gets down to the bottom of the hill, it's a massive snowball boulder, and it just roll you right over. And the Chargers, I mean, look, they had opportunities. I know that, Bosa was complaining about the referees, and probably rightfully so, but at some point you got to be able to get out of your own way. And they just got ran over at the end of the game there, man. It was insane. Those are so fun. Those are so much fun to watch. That's why we watch football, right? I mean, that's why we watch sports. Phenomenal game.
Right. You never know what to expect. All right. And let's slide over to the next day, Sunday, where we had 3 games here. Again, we've been talking about quarterback play. Buffalo played Miami again, playing their division rival for the third time. Final score was 34-31. I think Miami had Buffalo on the ropes, man. I mean, this third string quarterback that they had, for Miami, like I was surprised at how he was going toe to toe with, Josh Allen. I think his name was Skylar Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, statistically, his numbers don't look like an 18 of 45 for 220, but it was just those 18 completions that he made just came at crucial times to, keep the chains moving and just keep these guys pretty much in the game to the very end. Again, just overall, it just was the better team end up winning. But what were your thoughts watching this game?
I think a lot of Mike McDaniel. I think he's going to be a great coach in this league. I think Miami.
Mm-hmm.
If Tua's if Tua gets over this concussion deal and can play in the next 2 years, you got to expect that they're going to be challenging for an AFC championship soon. I mean, they're talented. And defensively, Jalen Phillips, they have Melvin Ingram. Both their linebackers are good. They have Xavier and Howe. I mean, they have good. Like when you're bad for that long, you're going to have good draft picks. You got good people coming in, and I think Mike McDaniel's the right coach for that job. I think after that game, the Bills knew if they play like that another week, they're going to be going home. They did not play a good game. They had turnovers, inopportune turnovers for touchdowns. And that it's completely uncalled for given the quality of players that they have on that field that they're putting out against the Miami Dolphins team who's got injuries and has injuries at the quarterback position. You say 18 for 4. If you said, hey, the Miami Dolphins quarterback's going to go 18 for 45 and they're going to drop 31 points, you go, no, they're not. There's just no way that's going to happen. And listen, they had obviously an emotional roller coaster week. It'll probably continue with everything that happened to Damar Hamlin, but they're going to have to play better, especially this weekend. I mean, I don't know about you, but I got the Bengals winning that game. I don't know if we're giving away picks or not yet, but like they're running into a buzzsaw right now with Joe Burrow and company.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be a matchup. But I don't know if you saw their injury report. Their right guard, right tackle, and left guard for Cincinnati is going to be out for this game.
Left tackle, Jonah Williams, right? Left tackle, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Yeah.
So their offensive line's no good, anyways, though, bro. You know what I mean? Like Joe Burrow's like he's a magician, and I know Patrick Mahomes is going to win MVP, and rightfully so. And there's some amazing quarterbacks in the league right now, but like, there's nobody better than Joe Burrow. I mean, maybe he can't run as fast, or I don't. Listen. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins. I mean, those guys, when you put all those guys together, forget about it. I mean, he makes it look so easy against good teams with no offensive line. Their offenses, if you look at everybody that's still in the playoffs, I know we just switched topics, sorry, but like you look at anybody still in the playoffs, they're the least user-friendly offense that you could possibly be running in the playoffs right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Burrow is so much better than the defenses that he's playing against that he still makes it look easy. I mean, to me, I just don't know how they're not the. I mean, I can't say they're not they're the favorites because of the Chiefs, but he's so good, and their defensive line's fantastic. I mean, you saw what they did last weekend. That's going to be this Bills team has the talent. I think they really missed Jordan Phillips, to be honest with you, on the defensive line. They obviously, Von Miller
as well.
Yeah, obviously miss him, but it seems like a little bit different team the last couple of weeks. They haven't been playing at a high level. Now they're turning the ball over. Again, they're kind of doing some things that surfaced earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't feel too good about this upcoming game if I was them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be at home for Buffalo. But yeah, the silly stuff, the red zone turnovers by Josh Allen, it's like he just got that gunslinger, mentality. And for the love of me, I don't know if it's by scheme or by design by offense coordinator Ken Dorsey, but seems like the running game is just pretty, centered around Josh Allen or bust a lot of times. And I just think that as talented as Josh Allen is, I mean, they got running backs that's definitely capable of, putting in work. I'm a fan of Devin Singletary. James Cook, and but I don't know. I guess being a Panther fan and seeing what all that running eventually did to Cam, you just kind of want to make sure that a quarterback like Josh Allen doesn't get too beat up and worn down. Getting all this running in so early in his career. Taking all those hits because they do pile up. It may not show up as an injury now, but those things, as you know, definitely builds up attrition on your body as you keep playing year after year.
Yeah, it's a good point with Cam too. And like what happens, you come into the league and they see this really unique skill set and you're still learning on the job. And, Josh Allen's a great example of a guy. He wasn't like, he wasn't just out of the box, a great pocket passer or anything. So I remember I was down in Miami the first year he was with Buffalo, and he comes down, he ran for over 100 yards against us. And it was just, it's just like one of those things where as a coach, if I'm putting my coaching hat on, I go, well, yeah, I'm going to put him in the game. I'm going to put him in situations where he can be successful with his arm or his legs. And that's going to develop his confidence. That's going to help him learn on the job as we have to kind of put him through the rigors of what it means to be an NFL quarterback. But yeah, to your point with Cam, it's like Cam got so good at certain aspects of running the football that it probably took away not only from what he could have been as a pocket passer, could have been as with his arm. I'm just talking about from a reliance and then therefore a mastery of it, but it also took away from his career from a physical standpoint. So yeah, it's a tough one. You think about Lamar Jackson and his contract right now and all the things that they have to consider, it's like the guy's magical, but you're kind of one hit. You're always one hit away, but it's even more accentuated when you're going to run the ball as much as these guys are.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a all-season topic that's going to dominate the headlines. What's going to go on with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens is 1 minute seemed like they're talking about they're on the verge of divorce. Then it was like, oh, look like they're going to reconcile, work things out. It's definitely something that everybody's going to keep eye on for the fact that I don't know if a lot of people know this, Mike, but Lamar Jackson, represent himself with his mother. He doesn't have an agent.
Yep.
And so
that's going. I think that's the new thing too. I mean, he's unique that his mom has actually represented him. Guys like Roquan Smith, Bobby Wagner, Lemmy Tunzel, like they have people in the background. They're representing themselves. They have people in the background that help, are part of the process. Certainly as consultants, but they're representing themselves. And for me, when you're in Lamar's situation, I don't know. It's hard for me to think that, if I'm if I put my Lamar Jackson hat on real quick and I go, all right, they just paid Deshaun Watson all that money, and I'm in every measurable thing that you want to measure as far as value to the organization on and off the field right now, you have to say that Lamar's at a higher level, right? And age, there's no downside. He's only going to get, if anything, he's only going to get better as a passer, and he's already good. So it's perplexing to me that the Baltimore Ravens would put that offense in, design their whole system and scheme around one guy, and then not just give him whatever he wants. Even if they don't want to start a trend, and with the guaranteed contracts and everything, it's like, hey, he's your guy. Cam Newton, when he was in Carolina, he literally changed Charlotte. Like, Charlotte wasn't a football town until Cam showed up. Lamar Jackson, now Baltimore's been a football town, but like he's Baltimore. He's Baltimore Ravens right now. He's the face. Like, I just feel like you have to, you want to put that to bed as early as possible, because you need to get on with your life. And I'm talking about it from an organization standpoint. But
yeah, it seems like ever since their GM, former player Ozzie Newsome, stepped down, it just ain't been the same for that front office for the Ravens.
I agree with that.
I feel like if he was here, it wouldn't have gotten to this point. Now, I understand with salary cap, you got to make the numbers work. I get all of that. That's something I'm steadily trying to learn, with the salary cap situation, because I heard that new TV deal that went down with the NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, I heard that's something that's going to affect the increase of the salary cap as well, with the revenue and things from it. So it's just, Yeah, everybody's not the same amount. It's just all about where you want to invest it at. So, 5 years ago, I was complaining about quarterbacks making $15-20 million a year. Now that's a bargain.
Yeah, he couldn't get him out of bed now for that much. Seems like, right?
Right.
Hey, here's something that's crazy to consider. Okay, and so the salary cap you can always kind of manipulate, right? It's kind of a dirty rule, but generally, very broadly, I think the NFL players make around 50% of revenues. If you go to the English Premier League, the soccer league, the biggest soccer league in the world, the number goes up to 65%. 65%. Now, a lot of those teams aren't profitable, so there's probably some wiggle room on both sides. But the point being that as much as the salary cap's as big as it's going to be next year, it can always get bigger. There's always room for negotiation, and these owners got pockets that like you and I can't even fathom. So it's if Lamar Jackson, if they want to give him his money, I promise you, there's not a bank in the country that will not back the owner that has to put a $240 million deposit somewhere in a escrow account. Like, that is not an issue. They might act like it's an issue. It is not an issue.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how we, as a Carolina Panther fan, that's something that we look forward to because, if you listen to Spot Track and Over the Cap, they're saying right now we're kind of negative $4 million in the cap. I know there's things like converting, base salaries into signing bonuses. I mean, I'm sure it's all little kind of nuances to, create, revenue. But when you got things like Taylor Moton's $25 million going to hit, Shaq Thompson's $24 million, DJ Moore, $23 million. These salary cap hits that's getting ready to, be on the books for 2023. Just, until that those moves are made to generate, it just kind of makes you nervous as a fan. Like, man, how are we going to re-sign Foreman and Bozeman and can we offer Louisville an extension? It just kind of, as a fan, just kind of makes you a little bit nervous, Mike.
Yeah, but, realistically, all those guys, the three guys you just talked about, like as long as they still want them on the team, which you have to assume they do, then doing extensions where you just, you could, I mean, Moton's a good example. You could extend Moton for 7 years if you wanted to. I mean, if you wanted to, and just put a bunch of funny money at the end, give him a huge signing bonus right now. It's prorated over 7 years. His cap number goes down significantly. You can do that with I mean, that's kind of the game, right? You're just always kicking the can down the road because the salary cap's going to get bigger. And it's like the deal that Patrick Mahomes signed a couple years ago. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's a ridiculous deal as far as, as average salary per year. But literally 2 years later, everybody, there's 5 guys had it beat. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, right? The cap's going to go up every year so you don't have these problems. That's why when I say, the salary cap's fun to talk about. It's not like it's not important, but I think when you look at it from a player's perspective, it's always like, if you want the guy, you're going to figure out a way to get the guy. You can get deals done, and certainly you have to prioritize. But it's just like the Rams right now. The Rams are going to go through it, right? The issue when you really fall into problems is if you become exclusively a free agent destination and you have no draft and develop, right? The draft and develop is still a huge deal in this league, and that's really I think that's really one of the benefits of the salary cap is teams that can actually draft and develop talent are going to have a long-term advantage over teams that can't.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. And with the Rams, you like to think, they kind of, it worked out for them. They kind of sold their first round draft capital souls to get a ring and it won. So, as a fan, I'll tolerate cap hell for a while if I got a ring to show for it. Seems kind of be what's going on with them because I think they don't have a first round pick available to 2025 or something like that. So
it's a while, but on the other hand, it's like, and this, I'm trivializing this a little bit. I understand. I mean, because they brought in Stafford, Ramsey was a free agent acquisition. Whitworth was a guy that came in from Cincinnati, but the best player in the National Football League for the last decade was with their first round draft with Aaron Donald. I mean, he's a homegrown talent, right? And it's not, there's guys on the team that are homegrown, but when you have a guy, it's like Aaron Rodgers was a homegrown talent in Green Bay. There's a reason that they're good every year. It's because of Aaron Rodgers up until this year. But they're good because that one guy who makes all the difference in the world for that team, they didn't have to do anything to get him. And not every team hits like they hit. And it's a confluence of events. But certainly, I think this is why that Sean McVay was thinking about leaving, right? Is because do you want to get caught holding the bag when you don't have when Aaron Donald might be retired and Stafford might be retired. All of a sudden, it's like, I don't really have any players. We haven't drafted and developed anybody. We don't have high draft picks. Jalen Ramsey's getting on the other side of his career, and you got to start looking at that and going, you're going to have to coach your way out of this and develop players.
Yeah, well, definitely player development is, like you said, is crucial, and that's something that your process to perform, plays a part of that development. So I just think that, teams that invest and look forward to doing such things will, be in a better position both short term and long term.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
All right. So Mike, just know we kind of switched up a little bit here. Just kind of want to go with the flow here. Got some of our fans here in the chat kind of want to chat up a little bit about the hometown team here, and then we can scoot back over and talk about the upcoming matchups here.
Yep.
Just want to let our fans know that we are definitely paying attention here. Got a few comments here coming up on the screen. Longtime Foreman Rush fan Bill Spires says, great night for Country Kev and Mike Doug. We always appreciate you, Mike, giving us your perspective. You still got a lot of love down here, Mike. So if you ever decide to grace the Carolinas, definitely hit me up, man, and let me take you out or do something for you, man. You got a lot of love here, man.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. And of course, your favorite question when you come on, hey, Mike, had the Panthers contact you about a head coaching job yet? No.
I tell you what, Bill, that's a great question. And unfortunately, I just haven't gotten that phone call. I jokingly put out that Ben Johnson, who's a friend of mine, he's going to be, if he becomes head coach, whatever he does, he will be a great head coach. But he's about a 250-pound power clean at sub 200-pound body. And so I got to get my size and my strength back up, I think, before I'm qualified to even put my name in the hat.
Hey, man, if we get that process to perform to down here, man, I mean, you already know the O-line coach. I mean, hey.
Campy did what did I tell you before the year? Campy's a hell of a good coach. He did a great job.
Man, an amazing job. I hate that last game. I didn't know if you found out or heard, but at New Orleans, both guards, Brady Christensen, fractured his ankle, and Austin Corbett tore his, I think it was MCL.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I remember I saw the fractured ankle. Yeah, those guys. It's so funny that they just it's just such a bad way to end the season. But on the other hand, that's kind of what you talk about. You draft Ike Ekwonu, and Moten doesn't even get talked about. That kid is really, really not that grown man is really, really good. Like he is supremely underrated in this league. He is I really watched him this year, man. He is a really good football player. But drafted, okay? Ike Ekwonu is going to be your guy for 10, 15 years. Drafted. Then you could kind of fill in Christensen if he turns out to be the guy at left guard. Drafted. Now you bring in these, coming from the Baltimore Ravens, and the other guy won a Super Bowl with the Rams. So it's like pedigree is good, right? They've been around good programs, good coaches, and now you have a good coach in that room. You're developing. You could have an elite line for the next 5 to 7 years. You could. Because you have that kind of, it just depends really on, is somebody going to go get the bag in 3 years from now? But otherwise, you really you have some time here as long as Taylor Moten stays healthy. I can't remember what year he's in, but I was really impressed with the way that guy played in particular.
Oh, you talking about Moten?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe Moten is in year 5.
Yeah,
he was a second round player. He got his bag last year. His contract extension about to kick in. So, out of Central Michigan. Yeah, this is He was drafted back in 2017, so he was in the same draft class with McCaffrey.
It's a good draft class.
Oh, definitely. All right. Now, this one of the questions that's been burning a hole through Panther fans online. Mike, they said, what are your thoughts? And me, you personally discussed this before we got online. I said, what are your thoughts of Wilks as head coach and former Panther Frank Wright as offense coordinator? Maybe use our draft picks and get Lamar instead of taking a chance on the rookie quarterback, or Sean Payton. I mean, this question holds a lot different.
I'll make it real easy. I think that Steve Wilks should get the head coaching job. Why? He earned it. He earned it because he got, how hard it is to get the locker room and to get the assistant coaches on board, like on the same page, and everyone's got your back. Like, I talked to people on the staff there after the season. Dude, they all are like, this guy, he needs to get it. Guys in the locker room. Every single player is going to bat for this guy. Now, the Lamar Jackson question, that's really interesting, isn't it? Lamar Jackson, and here's the other thing. I'm not like I'm not pro Frank Wright or whatever. Like, he's obviously a good coach.
Right.
But I also know Ben Johnson, right? And Ben Johnson, not that Ben Johnson's trying to be the OC anywhere else but Detroit, but my point is there are guys like Ben Johnson that exist in this universe that are young, energetic, are super creative. It just depends what you think. Like, do you think you need a quarterback guru? Do you need a guy who's a play caller, who's an innovator? That really makes the difference. Frank Reich, I bring in as an offensive coordinator if I have a young quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
If I bring in Lamar Jackson, I'm probably calling Paul Johnson off of his rocking chair and like, all right, come help us with that option offense. Honestly, man, because like you got to get Lamar Jackson. What they're running in Baltimore, they could tweak it, but that system is like it's almost as impossible to defend as you put it in the same breath as when he's healthy, the Eagles and the Niners, right? Just it's all for different reasons, but they just do things that, man, they really stress your leverage points. And I really like the way they run their offense. It's just execution sometimes is not what it needs to be.
Well, let me ask you this, because one of the things that I've heard them talk about online when it comes to this Baltimore offense is kind of like it's good for the regular season, but that's not a championship type of offense that they're running. And they kind of want the reason for the hesitation on the payday is kind of like they want to see Lamar develop into a more, as a quote, traditional downfield passer, but you really haven't put, traditional receivers to go with it. I mean, you got them, they're very 12, 22, 13 heavy personnel. I mean, fullbacks, tight ends. You was talking about him earlier, their fullback, Ricard, a former lineman, like 310 pounds, playing fullback. What do you think? Is that offense capable of winning a chip, or is it just one of those things that does well in the regular season, but teams can figure it out in the postseason?
I don't even understand that. Like, I don't understand the line of thinking there. It doesn't make any sense to me. This isn't like the NBA playoffs where you're playing the same team 7 times. Like, you get 1 week to prepare for the team, just like every other week. Mark Andrews is an all-pro. Frank Ricard's an all-pro. Lamar Jackson is he might be the most dangerous guy in all of pro football when he's healthy. Like and if you haven't equipped him, like, let me put it to you this way. If that leaked from the Baltimore Ravens and I was Lamar Jackson, I'd be furious because they've put him in this situation with the offense that they built around his skill set. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to run past, like, he just comes out. I don't know him at all, right? And right. He's got his throwing style isn't maybe as pleasing to the eye as Dan Marino's was. I don't know. But does he come off as the kind of guy that pretty much do anything he really sets his mind to? Like, if you want him to be, I remember his first year, he lost in the first round of the playoffs. So he came back, he won the MVP, and he just kind of went like, yeah, I worked on my passing because you guys said it wasn't good enough. It's like, he seems like that kind of dude. So he's the kind of guy I'm going to build my franchise around. And again, it goes back to, we talk about it. You got to show he's done everything you've asked for. Like, you got to show respect if you want to get respect. And for me, like, if you put that offense around, if you don't think you're going to win a championship with him, man, just cut him loose right now. because you're not the idea that you're going to go in there and run the run and shoot offense all of a sudden with him. I don't even understand. I don't understand where that even comes from. That must be coming from the fan base, because inside the building, they would feel like they just wasted the last 3 years of their lives.
Right, and if they were to for a reason decide to move on, I mean, that's going to set them back easily 2-3 years, because again, you brought in players specifically that fit a certain style or certain scheme. So, now, like I said, it'd definitely be interesting to see how it plays out. Now, me personally, offense coordinators, I don't know if you know him. I like the Eagles quarterback coach, the other Johnson. I know you brought up Ryan Johnson. Now, I'm intrigued with him as a potential offense coordinator candidate here, because it was said that with Vic Fangio, when he did his interview with us, that he, now quote, is rumors, so you know how they run rampant, but he's looking to join if there's a inexperienced offensive coordinator that's coming along with him. And I was thinking, like, okay, that fits right up Johnson's alley. And if I remember correctly, Johnson worked with quarterback prospect that's going to be one of the biggest mysteries in the first round, Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Mm-hmm. They have a connection where he's coached and worked with him. And sitting at the number 9 pick, Mike, when I tell you Panthers Twitter is a thing like no other, some say he's a second-round quarterback. Some say you draft him at number 9, you're setting yourself back. I kind of like that dynamic of a Steve Wilkes, Johnson, and Fangio type of coaching staff moving forward. The word was that Wilkes, during his interview last Tuesday, did do real good and sold them on his, quote, offensive plan moving forward. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, if it was me, if I was Steve Wilkes and they, you know, I would be looking very specifically for a coach who is at the offense that I want to run. That's it. And because you know that specific person knows the details of what the Philadelphia Eagles, for example, are running. That offense looks like something that anybody can run. The better quarterback that you have, the better you're going to run it, obviously. Like Jalen Hurts is phenomenal in that offense. He's better than Sam Darnold would be in that offense because he's a better quarterback. But they can now take the experience and they can take that playbook and they can put their own creativity on it, their own stamp on it. And so for me, I would look at, you know, I go back to if Kyle Shanahan has like some dude just following him around, I'd go the chief of staff. I might even talk to, you know, the Eagles. I'd go look to those teams, the Ravens. I'd go look to those teams and say, okay, this is the kind of identity that we want to have. This is the kind of line we're building. This is the kind of offense we want to run. This complements the defense that we have right now. And I would just pick a young, smart guy because you have Steve Wilkes is an experienced veteran leader. And now you can bring in that younger guy that's just got that oodles of energy and creativity and is willing to try different things.
Yeah. So I'm hoping this time next week we'll be having a discussion about who our new coach is. So definitely ready to, you know, wrap this thing on up. All right. Now, figured this question was going to come up. This one here, also again by Bill. It says, Mike, can you help us understand how number 12, talking about Tom Brady the GOAT, can light up the Panthers with big passes? So I'm assuming the battle for the division title at Tampa week 17 with big passes, one after the other. And then weeks later, Brady looks really bad all day. Not sure if you got to study that film and well, particularly how Mike Evans single-handedly with 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it seemed like they picked on that same side. It looked like they ran almost the same route 3 times to get those 3 touchdowns. Some, you know, want to say, hey, we had 3rd and 4th string corners in. Some say, hey, the safety never came over the top. Like I said, I don't know what your memory or if you can what you can speak on it about, but just from that perspective, on this question, what are your thoughts on the how Brady looked like that against us and then kind of fills it out this past Monday night?
Well, you're talking about one of the smartest players in the history of the sport, as far as being able to identify things and make game time adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
And so they obviously saw something that they liked against the Panthers. And when you look at the last game that he just got his head beat in, he is 45 years old. And it looked like he was 45 years old. And I think as you get older, you just have some of those days. You have those days where it's like, man, I don't want to get hit right now. And you see, I mean, I've honestly, you rarely see him throw that many balls in the dirt, balls over, balls high. It's just that pick in the end zone. You're just going, you don't even understand what's going on. Some of that's communication, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that's just, man, like you're 45 years old. It's been a tough year and you're having a bad day. And he showed out against Carolina in Week 17, no doubt about it. He had a great game. Mike Evans had that. Every once in a while, those two have a connection. I think as you get older, you're not great anymore. You have spurts of greatness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had a spurt of greatness in that game. But I think it's just really hard to sustain, even at the quarterback position. That's not as physically demanding, especially for what he does. It's more of it seems like it's probably more of a mental game. But I think that constant aggravation and pounding and pressure over and over and over that they were feeling against the Cowboys, I think that has a real effect on you. Start making business decisions a little bit more than if you were 23 years old.
Right, definitely. I mean, could you imagine at 45 still trying to block?
My arm would fall off. Oh my gosh, no, it turned into dust.
All right, here, and this was your comment earlier when we was talking about the Bengals. Off our YouTube, one of our YouTube fans here, Promise Panda says, Wahle ain't line, the Bengals have no line. But you know what's crazy? Since Von Miller and Phillips have been out, the Bills haven't really had a pass rush either. Yeah. So it's almost no blocking versus no pass rush. Like which units can take advantage of the other?
That's kind of my thing. Yeah, it's kind of my thing. It's like Joe Burrow throws a ball, and then they show like they'll throw the ball and it's completed to like Jamar Chase, and then they'll show Jamar Chase's route, and you're like, it's you. I'm watching it as like a former player going like, how is he? He's so open. They just have so much respect for him that they can just, hey, we can't do 7-step drops today. Okay. We'll just do 5 steps, 3 steps to get him, and you're still going to get open. Doesn't matter. They're afraid of him,
right.
And so I think you're right. I think that's a very good point about Vaughn and Jordan. It's like they cancel each other out almost. Listen, you should not be able to win in the National Football League with 3 starting offensive linemen. You should not be able to win a divisional game with 3 guys missing, and I'm taking the Bengals in that game. I think he's that good. Last year he made me a believer.
Right. And looks like you don't earn the second meal here. It says if Mike makes it to Charlotte, dinner is on me. So Mike, you're gonna have to work out when you come back from visiting. That's all I can say.
I'm in. Deal.
All right. Zach Jose was confirming that Moulton got drafted in 2017. I think we talked about this before a little bit last time you was here, but I'll bring this one up. This next one says, and we just talking about salary cap. Do you think we can afford Bozeman? Personally, I do.
Yeah, you can afford. He's not going to command top dollar. He's a good player. He's not going to get, what's with 18 million right now is probably what's top center is going to go for, something like that, 16 million. I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if he's going to be able to demand that at this stage. You could probably sweeten the pot for him and say, listen, we'll give you a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal, because we think you're an ascending player, and maybe in 2 years from now we give you a bigger kicker. So they can do that. They can give him a 7-year deal with a huge balloon payment in the 3rd or 4th year that kind of guarantees that this is a 2-year thing for him. He gets to develop with James. Hopefully Campen's back as the coach. He gets to develop that much more, and then he can take a big payday.
Oh yeah, because at the end of the season press conference, Panthers GM Fitterer was saying that how the salary cap in 2024 and 2025 is going to be extremely favorable for the Panthers. So I think you're right. If you can give them a little something for 2023, and then, like you said, a balloon payment or something the years after it, I think that'll be a lot of the ways that we'll be able to negotiate and make what type of whether it's signing our own players or inviting others in. I think that might be the route to go.
Carolina could really. The thing that's kind of exciting about that franchise, I think, is Richardson. They got Richardson had to sell the team, and David Tepper came in. He's not afraid to spend money. They've redone the stadium. It's a football town now. It's a great place to live, and I think if you get the defense, I think it's a damn shame they got rid of Son Reddick. Honestly, I think they're going to regret that. I think they regretted it this year. It's just he was a difference maker on the team, and I think the identity of the defense, while it is good, I think the identity changed because Son Reddick wasn't there. But if you get the right quarterback in there again, like this is going to be a place people want to go. Especially if you can retain guys like James Campen and the coaching staff. Like this would be a place that guys want to show up and play and live and raise their families.
Right, and I just like how all the former players came out and throw their support from Steve Smith, because when we signed Josh Norman, that kind of triggered a little fun on social media. Steve Smith was like, "Hey, do I need to dust it off and come on back?" And I think Thomas Davis was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go scoop up Luke. We're gonna try to go down here to Tampa to win this divisional title." It was just even though we know realistic as fans that wasn't gonna happen, it was just fun that the former players were so in tune that they were like, Wilt's the type of coach I'll go to war for. I'll knock the dust off and come on back here and try to win this thing. So
of all those guys, who would you be most interested to see how they would play?
Let's see, man. Greg Olsen is killing it as a analyst. I'm loving. He's catching up with Romo as far as like play by play and the way he describes it.
The cadence is almost the same, isn't it? The cadence is quite similar. Yeah.
Right. I know they're different networks, but man, if they could ever do one together, that would be phenomenal. Man, out of all our players, it may be a long shot, man, but if Smitty could have came back, to me, it's
a no-brainer. Like, there's nobody I would rather watch play at like 40 years old than Steve Smith, because he'd find some way to make somebody look really bad and talk about it.
I just want to see him get somebody one more stiff arm off of him, and then
just let people know about it, man. He's the master. He's a master at that.
All right. A couple more questions here. This is one from one of my good friends here, Gallet Walsitz. He said, if it ends up being Wilts, I don't think he can afford to go with a guy like Richardson. I'd be concerned if he would be fired before he had made real progress with him. I can't fathom him being your starter for at least several years. I think Wilts will need a slam dunk QB. Tepper probably won't be so patient this time.
I agree with that. That's the problem with bringing in interim guys they'll be, even if you give them a 10-year deal, guaranteed, they don't care about the guaranteed money, obviously, right? So
right,
it does feel like they always have shorter leashes. Listen, Derek Carr, if he's not going to be there, that's a really good. I don't know if you can get him, but you just kind of go like, Derek Carr would be a pretty good option in Carolina. Carolina is immediately the class of the NFC South if they get Derek Carr immediately. I mean, it's that big of a. I mean, you think who else is even good? Who else is good? Tom Brady's gone, right? They were talking yesterday, like the coordinator who was going to be the head coach for the Jaguars. They were talking yesterday, like they had to reiterate. Todd Bowles had to reiterate, like, oh no, he's not going anywhere. Like they were talking about he might get fired. You know what I mean? Like everything is going to change here. The Saints don't look great. Carolina's a quarterback away from winning the NFC South outright.
Yeah, and with Atlanta, they're starting their, the rookie quarterback they drafted, Ritter. They let him get the last few starts. So, the NFC South's wide open. Like I say, literally a quarterback and a couple of the pieces away. And I think that we can, get a grip back on this thing. And like we did in 2013, 14, and 15, I really think that's possible because as a fan, Mike, it still hurts me that we're still the only franchise in the NFL that doesn't have back-to-back winning seasons over 500 after all these years. We're the only franchise that's still snake bitten in that area. So I would love to see 10-7 and 11-6 back-to-back years, man. It would definitely be nice.
No doubt. They I'll tell you what, so the funny thing about that is I remember when I got here, when I went to Carolina, it was, with John Fox and Marty, and it always felt like they were, the years prior they'd gone Super Bowl, and then they weren't at 4-12, they were no good, but it was like they were literally reloading every other year. It's like they were just loading up, dump it, who cares? Loading up, dump it the next year, and then so we did the same thing. And then the year after that, Jake got hurt, and we were all, it was kind of problems. We quarterback got hurt, so we didn't have anything to lean back on. A couple guys got hurt that year, but it's a surprising statistic. I'll tell you one thing. I just did a show. I did a block party today on Chris Lindstrom, that right guard for the Falcons.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever watched him, but that kid can play. I mean, he's a really, really good Boston College kid. Your mind immediately goes to Chris Snee, remember, for the Giants.
Yeah, I remember.
Strong, 6'4", 307. Technically, like, very, very sound. Does all the basic stuff in the world. Like, I don't know if you guys are into watching O-line play, check out my Process to Perform YouTube channel, dude. It was really fun. I was just building out some stuff for some clinics. And I just started watching this kid like, man, he does everything right. He's a really, really good player.
Yeah, because I think when they got drafted together, him and McGarry, they kind of struggled that first year.
Yeah.
But it looks like they put in,
for sure. Yeah.
It looks like they put in the time and got better. And again, take it with a grain of salt. I learned too with the PFF grades, but they definitely were voted, as one of the highest grade offensive lines this year. So, but yeah, it was definitely big improvement for Lindstrom and McGarry. So something we got to deal with in this rivalry for the next several years. Now, I think just got a few more questions here. We don't have the pass rush that Dallas did. I think when we were talking about the game at Tampa, I think that's one of the biggest things that we got addressed this offseason. Finding someone opposite of Brian Burns. I think he was responsible for probably like 2/3 of our quarterback pressures by himself.
Yeah, that's why you don't get rid of the Hassan Reddick thing. Made no sense. I mean, I get it, but those, how rare it is to find two guys that can pass rush like that. It's just like I remember because I got guys that had to prep for the Panthers. And I'm watching film on these guys trying to okay, here's what they do. And I'm just going every snap's going to suck, man. Like, no matter who's on you, they're really, really good. Most teams don't have that. And so when you do have it, to give it away, I think like we were just talking about, I think it was a mistake, man. You definitely have to find a second guy.
Yeah. Cause a lot of fans feel like, we could, instead of that money that we gave Dante Jackson at cornerback, we should have put it towards Reddick, this, that, and the third. Yeah, that's definitely been one of the sore spots for Panthers, especially seeing the type of season Reddick has had up there with the Eagles. Because he's from that area, went to Temple and everything. So yeah, it's definitely been bitter for us to watch him. And one last one here, Mike, and I've mentioned her, so she's watching tonight. This is my daughter Jelani. She's a Packers fan here. She's currently on right now. I believe she's because we talked about this several times about the Derek Carr option. I think he went to Fresno State, so she was saying that I believe that would be good options. Yeah, just a little bit, bit.
There it is.
Because I put her on to your podcast with you and Amon Green that should be on. So she's currently watching. Nice. So I'm kind of smiling over here to the side. She's on my iPad listening silently while we're on the show. So, so while she was on, I definitely wanted her to have the opportunity to, meet you because, like I said, she's definitely a big fan of you, definitely a big Packers fan. So, just want to give her a little shine right here.
Cool. Jelani, you got great ideas. Derek Carr, 2023.
Hey, one thing I learned in the NFL, never say never.
That's for sure.
All right. So, all right, now that we kind of went through all the questions by our fans here, looking forward to the upcoming matches in the divisional round here. Which sticks out as probably the one you're most interested in watching the most this coming week? We're going to have the Saturday 4:30 game, Jaguars at the Chiefs. The Saturday night game, Giants at Eagles. The Sunday afternoon game at 3, Bengals at Bills. And the Sunday evening game, Cowboys at 49ers. Which one of these 4 divisional games really got your mouth watering the most, Mike?
I just like following, for whatever reason, I've always followed the NFC. I think I was always on NFC teams. I think both of the NFC games are going to be great. I'm interested. I think the Eagles are going to beat the Giants, but the Giants. I'm doing I just did a preview show on this. Excuse me, I'm about to tomorrow with Mike Flanagan, our old Packers center. The Giants, when they have linebackers just shooting the gaps, and they have Dexter Lawrence coming off the ball and winning his 1v1 matchup, like they can do some things up front that could give the Eagles line a lot of problems. The issue is going to come down to, you have to add a man for Jalen Hurts, and you pretty much have to add him at the line of scrimmage. You have to take away that run option. And when they do that, are they going to be able to hold up, particularly across the middle of the field, against Brown and those guys? I don't know that that's a yes, but they can certainly. I think they can move the ball a little bit. Daniel Jones played so well last week, getting him out into space. He created space with his feet. He was very accurate in the passing game. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is box office running back. They run a very user-friendly offense for their offensive line and tight ends. I'm going to enjoy that game, but as well as, because Dak, I thought this last game was basically a referendum on Dak Prescott as the Dallas Cowboys star quarterback. And he played so well that I'm just kind of interested to see what happens against the Niners, man, because I think the Niners are the best team, the best thing going. But Dak did play at an extremely high level. The defense has the capability to shut some things down and create some issues for the 49ers offense. But Dak, I was just really impressed. And it'll be interesting to see with Tyron Smith playing right tackle, Tyler playing in a guard, and then old man playing out there, 71 at left tackle, still doing it, but susceptible to the inside power rush that Nick Bosa does better than anybody in the league. So all these little matchups, games within the games, are going to be super interesting to watch. I think if you're especially if you're a trench warfare fan, that Cowboys-Niners game could be special.
Oh yeah, and then that's just the old school rivalry, man.
Yeah,
the fan bases. You go all the way back to the catch back in the 81 AFC Championship, Montana to Clark, from T.O. standing on the star and Emmett doing it and then all that. So just the fan bases alone is just going to be enough, because before the Panthers were here, Mike, into the Carolinas, it was 4 strong fan bases here. You were either a Niner fan, Cowboy fan, Packer fan, or a Steeler fan. You had some Washington, well, now Commanders, not supposed to say the former name, but it was some of them. But those were pretty much the fan bases that were taking over the Carolinas before the Panthers had a franchise here. So
that's how it was on the West Coast too. That's for the main franchises in the NFL for a long time. When you think about the NFL, maybe the Chicago Bears are in there, but Packers, Steelers, Niners, and Dallas, man. I remember growing up, everybody was one of those 4 teams for sure. Even though for a time we had the Rams and the Raiders, nobody cared. Southern California, we're not loyal to anybody unless they don't live in our state.
But I would say the top 2 that take over anywhere in the country I've seen, Packer fans and Steeler fans, like
no doubt. No doubt.
Whenever they come to Charlotte, I'm just like, man.
We travel well. We travel extreme. We used to go to San Diego, play the Chargers, and I'm not lying to you. 80% of the stadium, and the stadium would be full. 80% of the stadium would be Packer fans.
Oh, I believe it. That cheese travels well. All right. Well, Mike, I'm gonna let you have a little fun with this one here. Again, by you and Amon Green, doing about the Packers here, and like I said, I got my baby on, so kind of give Kamir Hirsch, we've been going over like what options, what do you see as far as the way the Packers can improve this upcoming off season here? Like, what are you seeing? Because we know Aaron Rodgers, going through his yearly will I, won't I, drama. I hope he cuts it short this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everybody does.
I think he needs to spend time in OTAs and all season with these receivers instead of waiting to show up at training camp. I think those reps are invaluable. That's just me. But what are your thoughts and ideas on the Packers all season and what they can do to bounce back in 2023?
I think it starts with the coaching staff. I think the coaching staff needs to take a really hard look at why we continue to make the same mistakes on both sides of the ball, why we haven't progressed in certain areas when they've clearly been areas of opportunity for the team. Are we doing everything we can to develop the talent that we have in the room? Are we more about developing the individual talents to win their matchups, or are we more about instituting new schemes so we can have shiny new toys? From a player's standpoint, I mean, the one thing that's always interesting to me about, the OTA conversation, I'm not arguing one way or the other. I'll just tell you that we didn't have, we had none of this off-season program. We had 2 3-day mini camps and we had a 10-day mini camp. And the players were out getting bigger, faster, stronger on their own. They could train in the facilities if they wanted to, but they go home. And let me tell you something. Everybody got all the everybody understood the playbook. Everybody came in ready to go. The relationship between Brett Favre and Antonio Freeman or Donald Driver or Billy Schrader or, Robert Brooks, Mark Shimura seemed to be just fine. And I only say that, and Tom Brady's, if Tom Brady wants to go throw Julian Edelman, they go out to LA, they go throw. A lot of these guys have they'll go take their guys and go throw. I think that maybe is called for because at some stage you're old enough. For Brett Favre, it's like you're not generationally, you're just in a different generation right now. If you want to connect with these guys and have some sort of relationship, you probably have to take the first step. As far as the team structure goes, they have some decisions to make, I think, with a couple different players. For me, I think they need to get Rashawn Gary's going to be back. And at the beginning of the season, I thought we need to get a third defensive end outside linebacker to really rush the passer, but our second stream guys weren't doing well. Hollins came in off the street, played well. Edenbari is a draft pick last year. I think he's only going to get better, but they're not really big guys. So maybe a larger guy that can really power rush on the outside as a third guy, or maybe a rotational guy would be helpful. There's a safety question. I think our secondary in general is a little bit in flux. We got a couple things, couple players injured. What to do with Darnell Savage last year? He got moved from safety to nickel corner. Adrian Amos, is he on his way up or way down? There's some things to figure out there. Offensive line wise, they might need to bring in an interior offensive line. I just don't know if our offensive line is Super Bowl level across the board. Whether that or they need to move somebody around and maybe switch out the right tackle. I'm not sure. They've got some guys developing, but Adam Stenovich became the offensive coordinator after being the line coach. The line took a step backwards, so they kind of need to figure that out. And then really maybe the other thing is these young receivers are going to be really good. What would, a lot of people say we're bringing a vet receiver. The problem with the vet receivers, like they tried it this year, it's the language, the barrier between him and Rodgers and the offense they want to run and the detail that goes into it, right? That's kind of the problem. So my thing is like Robert Tonyan was on his way to be a great receiving tight end, and now he got hurt. He didn't have the numbers, but he trying to become more of a complete tight end. So if we can either, continue to develop him and he can get his numbers back because we need a guy to take the middle of the field, or if we need to bring in another kind of tight end. Like, listen, now that once you watch a George Kittle, once you watch a Mark Andrews, it's like you can't unsee it,
Right.
And Njoku for the Cleveland Browns, you can't unsee those guys. They exist. So it's like, can we please have one of those? Because those guys are really, really good, man. And we got Mercedes Lewis, who's a great blocker, but doesn't really stretch the defense like he used to. So there's a couple positions of need, but really I think this team has the talent to go a long ways. It's really a question of, are we going to be a little more attentive to detail? Are we going to put a little more focus and effort into practice? Are we going to practice like champions week in and week out in our preparation, put us in a position to be successful?
All right. Well, let me ask you this, because this is something that, like I said, me and my daughter have discussed. It'd be rumored that she says that we haven't really seen what a Matt LaFleur offense looks like because Aaron Rodgers is still changing plays. Well, you said true. So is it like we're not going to see
the power? Yeah, think about the power struggle. I mean, Matt LaFleur walked into one of the best coaching jobs in the world, right? He gets to coach at Lombardi, Lambeau Field, Lombardi Avenue, 1265 Lombardi Avenue. He gets to coach at Green Bay Packers. It's one of the best jobs in the whole world, if you're a coach, any sport. But the power dynamic is such that he walked in as a coach who's, from an age standpoint, almost Aaron Rodgers' peer. Aaron Rodgers is, at the time, a two-time MVP, first ballot Hall of Famer, smartest guy in the building, knows defenses better than anybody. And so he's got all the power is really with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a big reason probably Mike McCarthy was released, whether they want to talk about it or not. And so when Matt LaFleur didn't come in and say, now hold on a second, we're going to run my offense the way I want to run it. You can run some checks, on these plays, but these are called and run. We got to, there's not going to be this, I'm going to switch 80% or 50% of the plays on the line of scrimmage, and we'll run what I want to run. I have my own secret, all these hand signals which are fine to have, but if the coaches don't know them, is probably an issue. But the fact that he didn't do that for 4 years now, and now 3 years of being 13-3, but now you're losing record, not make the playoffs. Quarterback's not playing at a high level. Teams exposing a lot of issues that maybe are masked when you're playing well. Man, I think it's really tough for Matt LaFleur because it's not like you can go back and say, now I want to take control. Now I want full autonomy. You already gave it away. And so I don't really know how he handles that. And I don't know that if you get rid of Aaron Rodgers, man, everybody that's a personnel coaching staff has to hit the timer on their watch because they're all on the clock now because they just got rid of 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterback play. And now everyone's going to say, all right, are we really good at our jobs? Are we really good coaches? Are we really good developers? Are we really good personnel guys? Because Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers elevated the level of play in every facet of the game just by walking in the door. And so if they're not there, it's going to be a different story.
And Mike, we're going to wrap this up here because I definitely appreciate you sharing this much time with us here. You had mentioned earlier about scores and predictions for this upcoming weekend. So I'm just getting teams and you let me know what your prediction is. Let's start with the 4:30 game. Jaguars at Chiefs. Who you got?
Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Yeah, Chiefs. It got to be Chiefs, right? I think they're 8.5 favorites. Yeah, I probably would take the points too, man. I love Dougie P, but boy, the Chiefs are good.
Yeah. Like I say, I hope they can make it competitive. They seem feisty. Like you're gonna have to cause that's a lot of confidence coming back from 27-0. But
you know what the Jaguars have, and you'd appreciate that is we just talked about defensive ends. You talk about Arden Key, Josh Allen's probably the most underrated defensive end in the league.
Yep.
Right, and they've got 4 dudes that can rush the passer. Okay, Trayvon Walker, 95. They can rush the passer. And they're all long leverage players, right? They can get underneath you. They have power. They have speed. They have technique. They can play low to high. If Patrick Mahomes starts trying to pull that Superman stuff, man, they can grab that cape. They're those kind of athletes. So that's the one thing when I watch this game is going to be interesting to me.
Yeah, plus the Chiefs got my favorite lineman. I hate that we drafted a long snap from Trey Smith at right guard. Every time I see him play, I'm excited and sad at the same time. But hey, that's just me. That guy that nastiness he blocks with. I mean, Jeff Schwartz. I don't know if you follow him, but he features him a lot on his film breakdown. Man, it's just like a joy to watch Trey Smith play guard. All right, the Saturday evening game, Giants at Eagles, Part 3. Who you got?
I think Eagles are just a better team. If Jalen Hurts is healthy like they say he is, I think they're going to be in the NFC Championship for sure. All
right. Well, like I said, it's been a while since the team beat a team 3 times in a row in one season, so we'll see how it holds there. Sunday, 3:00. touched on this earlier. Bengals at Bills. I think you said you're going with the Bengals, correct?
I'm going to go with the Bengals. It says the Bills are favored. I'm going to take the Bengals. I can't bet against Joe Burrow. I think he's just too good. The Bills don't look that good right now, one. And I know the Bengals had a kind of a scare as well, but I just think Joe Burrow in these kind of games, man, he's just built for it.
All right. And finally, the 6:30 game, the nightcap, Cowboys at 49ers. Who you got?
I'm going to take the Niners. This could be the best game of the weekend. Dak Prescott really opened a lot of eyes. I think he made a lot of fans last week in the performance that he had. And having said that, I just like watching the Niners. So I'm just selfishly hoping that they continue to be in prime time.
All right, great, cool. Well, hey, again, appreciate you coming on and collaborating with me on this. We had a great time doing this last year. Hopefully, we can schedule work out, and you had a time where we can do this again next week. Maybe we can discuss who the Panthers' new coach is.
Maybe. You hope they get something done soon here.
Right, definitely sooner than later. I'm ready to put this bad boy to sleep and get ready to look at potential conference game championship previews. So as always, be in touch with you, and we see what we can work out to definitely, if you're open to it, coming back next week with us.
All right, Kevin, sounds good.
All right. Final wrap up. Anything else you want to share? Want our fans know anything about Process to Perform, or anything else you want them to follow about you?
Yeah, check out the On My Block podcast. We do 2 shows a week, Monday and Thursday. We know right now it's a Packers podcast. But we're doing a ton of NFC preview stuff, a lot of playoffs. There's a ton of film breakdown and analysis. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it. And then I do a block party, like I said. I just put one out on Chris Lindstrom, just really going through the basics of the sport. If you're a high school coach, if you're a player, if you're just trying to figure out how to develop and think about development like these, hopefully these things are valuable to you. So check those out, youtube.com/process to perform.
Yeah, definitely great film breakdown. I've been checking them out myself, especially the block party. I thoroughly enjoy it. So I'm definitely glad that you're doing that, Mike. So appreciate it. All right. So again, on behalf of everybody here at the 4-Man Rush, again, Mike, I want to thank you for taking time to be with us here. On behalf of all the Carolina Panther fans that's listening, we appreciate you sharing your insight and what you think about our situation. And just anyone that's just a 4-Man Rush fan, whether you're a Panthers fan or not, again, we just want to thank you all for joining us here. We're going to let Mike go and enjoy the rest of his evening. I definitely let you guys know what day and what time next week we'll be back on. Y'all take care, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time. This is Kevin Avery, the 4-Man Rush. You guys be easy.